All right, it's time. It's episode 6, State of Exile. It's titled W because our special guests today are Uberelite and Unhost. It's a little play on words, I guess, or letter. Um, Before we get this thing kicked off, we got a lot to go over today. I'll go over our segments. Today with us, we have Terry, Heggy, myself, Uberelite, and Unhost. Terry will be discussing the breakdown of the new Descent Champions signature race. Hedgie and I will be doing a little game we'll get more into later on, but it's an underrated, overrated game. Uber is going to be talking about vendors, their uses, how powerful they can be, and then Host is going to be discussing the intricacies of RNG. Before we introduce ourselves, I want to say thank you to Grinding Gear Games. They have donated 12 microtransaction packs. They support our podcast. It means a lot to us, and we appreciate you guys watching our podcast and doing what you do. We love your game. Thank you very much. I want to thank Twitch for allowing this to happen time and time again, for getting us on the front page, just helping us all together to bring Path of Exile up to snuff. It needs more hype. Also, I want to thank the mods in the channel for, doing what you do best. That ban hammer. And keeping chat clean. It means a lot to us. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. We appreciate you guys' continued support. We love that you guys are this Path of Exile community is so solid, and it's because of people like you. We appreciate it. And lastly, I want to thank Paradise, also known as Mima, for making this awesome background that you guys get to see today. All right, so a little bit about myself. My name is Xenocide. Ian is my actual name. I make funky builds. I'm really good at dying in the 2-week race. I don't know. All around, I try to have a very fun stream, community-oriented. That's what I'm most well known for. How about you, Terry?
Hey everybody, Terry here. I like to stream races and help out as much as I can in the racing community, bringing in new players and helping them learn through the tough process of getting into races. Lately, I've been playing a little bit of the 2-week, and I've dedicated some time into doing Uberelite series. But aside from that, I really just enjoy helping the community grow and helping players learn more about this amazing game.
How about you, Hedgie? Go ahead and fire away.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's always a pleasure doing the podcast. I'm mostly known for just endgame mapping and just doing builds that I find entertaining. You don't really like, cookie cutter defenses, and I like doing a lot of self-casting for defense.
And we got Uberelite. That name, though. Tell us about yourself.
Yep. I'm the Uberelite. You can call me Uber. I'm known for quite a few things. I've been doing races. I'm pretty well known for creating the whole Searing Bond hype from the Domination 1 week, and I also do a lot of endgame mapping, and been playing this game for a really long time, so I know quite a bit about the mechanics.
That's awesome.
And I like to try and help people out with that.
And then lastly, we got the first ever level 100 invasion guy. No one could take that title. Unhost.
What's up, guys? I'm Unhost, and I'm a professional bum, and I'm pretty bad at the game. I'm known for dying at the last minute a lot, and but I like the game. I can't get enough of it.
Awesome. So the way how we're going to be doing this right now is we're going to kick it off with Terex here, and he's going to be discussing the new Descent Champions hype around that signature race. Let's hear it, dude.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Since the new dev manifesto that was posted 3 days ago talked a little bit of the new Season 8 signature race, and it mentioned various new additions and changes to the current race, Descent Champions. So I'm just going to go over first just the structure of it and what entails in Descent Champions. So Descent Champions is a 1-hour event in which players race through a structured layout after layout, different areas, and you'll encounter roughly a boss after every 3 areas. There are side areas that you can choose to go in as you progress through this race, but they are optional. So as players are progressing through Descent Champions, after every stage, when you get to the beginning of a new level, there are chests, and in these chests you're awarded orbs and various items. So as you progress through the race and you advance further, you are basically awarded like orbs for crafting or tools to use at your disposal, and it's left up to the player to make best use of what you're given. So depending on your build, it's up to the player to decide what am I going to do with these items or these orbs, and how can I make them like most efficient? How can I get the best use out of all these items? So when you start Descent Champions, there's 3 chests at the very beginning. Depending on your class, you get set items, you have your skill gems, and then there's these 2 unique chests. And in these unique chests, they have these insane, like overpowered level 1 starting items, and you get to pick 1 item from each of these unique chests. So you really got to pick the best one for your build from these chests. And like you don't get these items outside of the race, so they're allowed to basically make them super powerful and like have them do things that you normally can't do in the game, just because it's after the race ends, you don't get to play your character. So it goes to a void league. You get these awesome items, and then you don't get to bring them outside of the race. So you start off in the race, you get your items, you get your unique items, and you start killing. You start advancing through the levels, and you get to the first boss, and that is Rikuku. Now, a lot of people do struggle a little bit with Rikuku. He is the pagan god. He does lightning damage. He leaves like shocking ground. He revives the skeletons around him, and he will lightning warp on top of you. And he shoots spark everywhere. And like if you have trouble with Rikuku, you'll definitely want to take a little bit of time, like just to build your lightning resist for this boss, and it can make all the difference in allowing you to take like a few of his spark hits or allow him to teleport on top of you. Do any of you guys have like special strategies that you use for Rikuku?
I've done him once. That's it.
Well, it's really hard to build lightning res because topaz rings can't even drop in any of the zones beforehand, so you kind of have to build life instead and hope that you have high enough life to not get shocked if you're going to do it. I try and keep it ranged if I can, like just stay away, don't get shotgunned by the sparks because they fire in every single direction.
How about because Topaz can't drop, would Scion or Marauder be a better start, or is that the popular starts?
I think Scion is one of the most played classes in Descent Champions because it offers those resistance nodes like almost straight away, and that can help a lot with Rikuku. So like Uber said, you can't get those topaz rings, so you got to maybe rely on a few like magic items to drop just to get extra life and resistances. But there also is the starting 2-handed sword if you're an attacker that has lightning resist on the weapon, and that if you're an attacker, you may want to consider using that for your character for Rikuku. But after Rikuku, I think... Sorry?
How do you feel about the Molten Strike being added to the Marauder and Duelist as part of the provisions?
I think it's a really nice addition. It's going to allow you to progress like a lot quicker early on. I think Molten Strike is like just way ahead of Cleave in performance. Molten Strike it's basically just like a straight upgrade. I think it performs better, it like has better output, and you can just use it and own like rare monsters or bosses as well, and like wipe everything around them. So that's very exciting, I feel like, for players that use Marauder and Duelist.
No, Terry,
in Descent Champions.
With Descent Champions, usually the signature race is built around classes. So Descent Champions is perfect because each class gets a different thing, and Ranger is Ranger. Everybody gets the same exact stuff as Ranger. What does this mean now? Is this going to be better than your typical Path of Exile starting off, in Twilight Strand?
For Descent Champions, I think it's like a lot of people's favorite races because it's a playthrough variant, and like we talked about it on the last podcast a bit, where I asked Chris like how come players can't practice it. It's because they want to keep it refreshing and like have people look forward to being able to take part in the event. So I think it's a lot of people's favorite race because it offers something completely different than what the normal game, like content-wise, for like your progression for that 1 hour event. It's completely new. It's a lot of fun to play it, progress, see improvement, and just learn from mistakes or learn from like your deaths, just to do better next time. But I'm gonna go back to the bosses quickly because the second boss is the Brute, and I think for Descent Champions, this is the stopping point for a lot of people. And the Brute is basically Cole with Soul Eater, who summons skeletons around him. At any given time, like he will always have 1 to 3 skeletons. So if you kill all the skeletons, he's going to summon 3 more. If you kill 2, there will be 1 skeleton left alive. So for the Brute, if you keep killing the ads around him, he's just going to get tougher and tougher from Soul Eater. So you'll definitely want to focus on him with like a single target attack, or you'll want to carefully use like your AoE abilities to hit him, and always be cautious of how many skeletons you kill, because the more you kill, the harder the fight will be like over time. How do you guys handle the Brute in this race, like Uber and Unhost?
Well, the skeletons are a lot slower than the brute is, so when I'm using something like EK Shadow, which obviously is pretty much full AoE, I don't want to hit the skeletons because I'm basically going to one-shot them. So I basically get the skeletons to spawn, and then I pull them to one side of the map behind one of the walls and get as much DPS on them as I can. And there's also the option of doing dual strike claws, because without any nodes, dual strike claws can do a lot of damage. And
You also have life return.
Yeah, that's
yep, you have a
good
lot of
sustain with
instant
claws.
life on hit.
How about you, Unhost? Do you do a lot of Descent Champions?
Yeah, the Brute is where I die about 80% of the time, because I play Spec Throw, and it's not really about RNG, more about the placement that I choose. If you keep moving, I mean, of course you're going to keep killing skeletons and feeding him, but like I said, it's where I die all the time, so I'm not too good at that section of the race. But if I had to say anything to anybody that plays Spec Throw and Descent Champs, just keep moving and keep your eyes on the prize.
All right. For me, the trick for the Brute is evasion gear. Keep an eye out for like the level 8, 9, 12 evasion gear. And if you're a one-hand and shield character for your build, definitely get that level 8 or 9 evasion shield. And like if you can get your evasion, say around 40-50%, that's going to make all the difference for that fight. And the reason you want evasion is because if you focus on armor, you most likely will not have enough armor to mitigate the smash. But if you have evasion, you can just evade it completely, and like that's way better than just getting smashed nonstop. So if you take a little bit of extra time, and just look for those evasion pieces, it'll make all the difference. Because a lot of the time when I get in there, I'll have like a 50 increased physical damage weapon, and I can just face tank him the whole time with like 46% chance to evade. So that's like my approach for the Brute, and it's been pretty solid so far. And so after the Brute, it's actually 2 bosses. A lot of the time, depending on the route that you take, you'll have one of 2 choices, and one of them is Hate Storm. And to me, this is the easiest boss in the race. He is a big fire golem. He summons totems that use Spark, and he uses Firestorm. You can just kill the totem quickly and run up and kill him. Maybe wear like a ruby ring and a topaz ring to mitigate some of the damage. And the other boss is in the Frozen Cave, and it's Avatar of the Tempest. And this boss, I think, is just as difficult as the Brute, at least from my experiences. You'll want to use a Cold Res and a Lightning Res ring, because like they use, what's it called, the top-down
Storm
lightning
Herald?
move. Yes, Storm Herald. The boss has Storm Herald and uses Arctic Breath, and if you get shotgunned by that, that's so much damage. So that boss can really, really hurt depending on your mitigation. And last up is General. And General, he's pretty tough, but if you have like 50 or so fire res, he's very manageable. As you progress through Descent Champions, one thing to keep in mind is always know what is ahead of you, what you need to do to prepare for the upcoming like fight, the upcoming area, just to make your character like more stronger against the monsters, and just either prevent more damage or clear more efficiently. So when I'm progressing through Descent Champions for General, you want to always like ID the magic and the rares, just to get all the gear that you can with fire res, because you'll have negative 60 fire res when you get to him, and that's a lot to build up in gear in that short amount of time while you're killing on the move, crafting your gear on the move. You don't want to like look at every piece, use all your orbs just to get all that fire res. That to me is one of the biggest challenges, is to make it to General and kill him. Do you guys like often make it to General and defeat him? Uber Unhost?
Shadow was considered one of the weakest classes because it rarely killed general. Like I think um, there's only one person that I know of that killed the general on a shadow, and that was using actually dual strike melee splash. But it's I've made mistakes on that boss before where his Fire Nova is actually considered incinerate, so it doesn't do a lot of damage at first, and then like if you're like, oh, it doesn't do a lot of damage, so you go back in, and then it's fully charged and it's doing 300% more damage, and you just die.
And it's easy to get
So-
shotgunned by that. Oh my god.
Yeah, he can blow you up so fast. And like you said, Shadow being weak in Descent Champions, I'm going to peel off that and talk about the manifesto. And one of the nice things for Shadow is now they are getting Glacial Cascade. And like that's very good news for Shadows. I think like that hopefully will be enough to bring Shadow up to par with the other classes in performance. Maybe now they will be able to like clear a little bit more efficiently, like AoE monster wise. And Templar is getting Flame Blast.
Oh, man.
So how do you guys feel about that? The Flame Blast and the Glacial Cascade edition.
Well, Flame Blast is going to be broken as hell.
Yeah. Witches were
Witch.
always like just dominating
Yeah.
Descent Champions because of Flame Blast.
Really?
I think the last Descent Champions I played, I lost to another Shadow because he had a Flame Blast drop. So, yeah.
What are the chances? What are the
Yeah.
chances of?
I got a question for all
Alright.
three of you racers. All right, so Descent Champions was a race you guys did before, and then there was a signature race. Now they're combining them. Does this mean that we're going to see a new race, you think, or an increase in other
they-
type of races? What do you guys
They
think?
they're doing a lot of changes to Descent Champions, and the impression that I get for these changes is that they want to normalize it. And normalize might not be like the best term, but I get the feeling they want to reduce the RNG involvement, like to players in their overall placement. So they want to reduce dead ends. Like from the development manifesto, it says like there's so many interesting things in there, and I'm so excited to see it in action. But they want to reduce the dead ends, and they mentioned moving the side areas into the middle. And what that means is that you no longer have to where do I have to go to meet the freezing chamber to get like my movement speed boots? You now know that you can do like a half loop and go to the middle, bam, and the area is always there. You never have to run an extra like 3 minutes or like a few minutes, and all that time is crucial just to find your side area for like an item that you need or your skill gem. So that's very good news to me. A lot of people might not agree, like maybe they say reading layouts is like part of the skill set, but a lot of the time you get things like that happen during the race that's out of your hands, and that's like all those dead ends or having bad luck maps layouts and running
Sometimes
all
it'll
over the
just
place.
ruin the race for you almost if you get a bad spawn. And I mean, I've had situations where it really sucks. Like I mean, zone after zone, I just keep finding the corrupted zone, and I think they realize that putting those in races kind of takes away the skill. And that goes for things like Shadow. The guys that are getting Shadow records aren't even using things that the Shadow normally uses. You know, they get spectral throw drops or whatever.
Or like I was watching a lot of you guys doing signature races. The docs would have like a blue pack of 3, and like all the like you could just get a really bad set of blue packs. That's everything at the
Normalizing
end.
it? Yeah.
Yep.
So if they want to make it a signature race, normalizing it is definitely I see it as a very appropriate step in making the race like a bit more of a serious competitive
It's like
event.
skill oriented rather than random.
Yeah, exactly.
With all
that's-
due
that's-
respect, Terry, you didn't answer my
Yeah.
question. I asked.
Um,
Descent Champions was its own race, and Signature Race was its own race. Now they're combining them. This opens up a whole set of new races, an open slot. What do you guys think's to come? That's what I want to know.
like new races to come.
Right, because before they each had their own block, and now that it's one
Yeah.
and the same. I mean, Unhost, Uber, you guys got anything? You think they're going to release something new and surprise us?
Invaders
hope
everywhere,
so.
maybe.
Oh my!
Want to see
my God.
a strong box race where there's no monsters, only strong boxes. Players are given like a stack of alts, augments, and alterations.
There we
Make your own
go.
I like that.
boxes and like
Right
progress
there.
through the race, choose how you want to fight the monsters coming out. I think that would be like so much fun.
Yeah, that sounds
But
awesome.
the last thing I'm going to talk about from the development manifesto is the two uniques, and these sound really cool. The first one is the Blood of Summer, which is a one-handed sword that, and like this is directly from the manifesto, a one-handed sword that rewards AOE and allows early interaction with frenzy charges. So bam, Shadow with Glacial Cascade rewards AOE and allows early interaction with frenzy charges. That might be a lot of synergy with Glacial Cascade and Shadow. So that might be able to boost Shadow up to par, make Shadow a bit more stronger. And the second is Scar of Fate, and this sounds extremely interesting. It's a claw that grants life gain on hit for spells and attacks, gives the Hatred aura, and helps with mana costs. So who knows, like, till we get to see that unique, how powerful that will be. And it just sounds so cool, and
But
I want to see it in
even
action.
when you pass it in your main hand, you could put that in your offhand instead of a shield, and you still have a cheap hatred.
Yeah.
Exactly, good
And then,
call.
and then the frenzy, that's also really good for flame blast
Yeah.
because
More cast.
frenzy gives you that cast speed, and then you get that increased AOE or whatever it's going to offer.
Yeah, but
So-
they really needed a one-handed sword because there's a lot of skills that some of the classes get, like Shadow gets like Reeve and Whirling Blades, but like if you want to go say you wanted to play a melee ranger, you go from Reeve to Cleave. There was nothing you could use that would work for both skills, and now there's a sword which works for both, so that's great.
Reeve kind of stinks though. It's like Reeve is one of those skills where it needs multi-strike. It's without a question.
Yeah.
So it's going to be kind of painful still, I think. Maybe they're trying to make
like-
up for that with the frenzy charges.
But like overall, I honestly can't wait to see the new and improved Descent champions for the signature race in season 8. It's very exciting for me, and I bet a lot of other people. I really think Descent Champions is one of the most favored races, just because it has content and it offers things that you normally cannot play in the game, and it's so much fun to play through, and it's really exciting. So I think we'll be lucky when this comes out with the new season. We got something awesome to look forward to.
All right, so now that you guys heard about the new signature race from Terry's perspective and the other two, Uber, you're up. Let's hear it. He's going to be discussing vendors. I want to know what the heck is going to take 20 minutes to talk about vendors.
Well, I feel like vendors are extremely like underrated. Like everybody knows that you can get 6-socket items, you can get your jewelers from it, you can get your chromatics from it. You can possibly find even a 6-link or a 5-link, but there are so many ways to use vendors other than just checking for chromes and 6-sockets that make getting better items, getting upgrades so much easier. And I wanted to kind of bring this up and discuss this, especially with the 2-week race happening, because progressing through the game, especially if you're going, say, self-found, vendors come in super useful for finding those upgrades. So I wanted to start off with the end game, since I'm sure a lot of people are playing the 2-week and might be looking for some upgrades. And there are a lot of things that are really hard to find. I know I'm still using an amulet that I initially found off a vendor, and I bought it from Act 2 Cruel, and there's not been a single upgrade on the forums for it. So with things like gloves are one of the hardest things to find, in my opinion, for upgrades, because they can have the damage rolls as prefixes, and if you're playing in a hardcore environment, obviously you really want HP. So you can actually get a maximum HP roll on gloves starting in Act 1 Merciless at level 53.
Wow.
And all the way going up to Act 3 Merciless, obviously, you can still get maximum HP. HP on rings and amulets, you can actually get max HP on rings and amulets at Act 2 Cruel, even, which is 70 to 79 life, starting at level 43. And I know I found quite a few rings that have, say, 70 life and like 25, 30 resistance on it. And I just keep those around in case you die. You have leveling gear, you have blues that work great, and um, it's not really a bad thing to be using blues as your gear, especially as you're progressing, because a lot of the times with this game, blues can be better than the rares that you're using. They can give you much more defensive or even offensive stats.
You mean like an amulet maybe with like life all res if you get lucky enough to find one of those?
Yeah, and sometimes they'll come with just one stat, and maybe you get lucky. You augment, say, you need mana regen. You get mana regen. You get maybe all attributes. You get resistances, all of that. It's really big. And as I
Yeah,
said, I found. Go ahead.
I would tend to agree. Like I think that a lot of the rare items can be deceiving when they see a wall of text. You know, when you actually look at it, it's like thorns, block recovery. You know, maybe some a little bit of mana
Life
and like
regen,
2 to all
please.
stats, and it's just like
Basically.
completely worthless when you're getting much more meatier of an item with a a well rolled blue. But I wanted to ask Uber, how often do you find yourself regaling these blues?
Whenever I'm using them for extended periods of time, like my amulet, I regaled it. I got ES on it, which is, it's okay. But if it's like really good, I found a diamond ring that actually had 72 life and 50 mana regen on it, which is
That's a win.
pretty massive.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
I mean, the regal bricked on it, but with items like that, I mean, you can even find belts that have 129 life and like 40 resistance in Act 3, or Act 2 Merciless, and those are easy regal candidates. You can easily regal another resistance. You can regal armor. You can even regal weapon elemental, and then you have something that could potentially sell for even like an Exalt.
All right, Uber, I'm putting you on the spot. You ready for this? All right.
Yeah.
I'd say most of the people that play this game understand how strong vendors are and to check for blues like that, especially the racers. That's what you guys do, right? Tell something in the chat, like a recipe or something that people don't know about vendors. That's what I want to hear.
Well, one of my favorite recipes, and some people might have seen me mention this, is the 20% rare blue and white of the same base will give you an alchemy, which means that you can convert scraps and say a transmute into an alchemy and save an alchemy just by 20 qualitying an item before you alch it.
And by the same
So-
type, you mean like 3 occultist vestments. Obviously, you want to chance those. But let's say the chance goes wrong. You have a blue, a yellow, and a regular, and then you could get yourself an alchemy orb, as long as they're all 20% quality.
Yes.
Pretty interesting.
So you can just pick up 3 of the same base and just 20 quality all of them, alch one of them. If the alch goes bad, you can just transmute the one of the others and then sell all of them, and you get your alchemy back, which makes crafting a lot easier, especially in this ambush and this 2-week where you are just throwing scraps from those artisan boxes like crazy.
And it's a way to recycle your alchemy orb. That's really cool.
Yep.
What about Unhost? You running any recipes religiously or what?
Well, I don't think a lot of people know this, but maybe some people do. I might have been the one to leak the 20% gym recipe, and
Oh man!
Yeah.
I used that for a long time and got a lot of money off that back in the day. But I still use that religiously to make money.
You were the guy who leaked that?
Well, no. Let me
Oh.
correct myself. Akira was streaming, and we were talking about it in stream, and he was telling me that his stream wasn't on, and we got caught basically.
Oh, man.
It
Rest
was
in
Akira, it
peace.
was Akira's fault.
The 5 GCP Exalt. Rest in peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Wow.
So yeah, it was Akira. Blame Akira.
That's easy to do. So what else we got for us today, Uber?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the resistances, you can actually get tier 2 resistances in anywhere Act 2 Merciless Plus. So you can get 41 resistance on a belt or gloves or in Act 2 Merciless and above. And you can get the tier below it in Act 3 Cruel and above. One interesting thing is that if you're really going for DPS, like say you're playing an Elemental Buzzsaw build or something, you can actually get the second tier of Weapon Elemental all the way down to Act 3 Normal, which goes up to 30%.
And this is on a belt?
Yeah, this is on a belt or rings or amulet.
Wow.
You can get the second top tier. The top tier doesn't appear until item level 75, but the second tier appears as low as item level 30.
That's crazy to know.
Yeah, and then of course there's the mana regen, which if you're playing a mana heavy build, you're playing EB, you're using Arctic Armor, you obviously want mana regen on rings and amulet. Second tier appears Act 1 Merciless and above. Third tier appears Act 2 Cruel and above. So you have a lot of possible items that can spawn in the vendors that can end up being, really good. They can end up being upgrades that you use for a long time. I'm almost level 90 in that 2 week, and as I said, I'm still using that amulet from Act 2 Cruel that I found in a vendor. So
yeah,
Vendors are like that.
tier 1 Flat
hidden
Fizz is
secret.
actually the tier 1 Flat Fizz is actually really low too. How do you treat that, seeing that as that's a prefix and you can't get life until you actually get the Regal? Do you still take it?
on rings, you mean?
Yeah, like the 7 to 15 Flat Fizz, that can actually be attained at a really low level, I think.
Yeah, that's really good if you're leveling with face breakers, because you don't need like any damage nodes to level with face breakers. So you can often sacrifice your life on gear.
You know what I love about face breakers?
Mhm.
The fact you can wear a quiver and get all the damage from it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did change that with the new quivers though. They have the implicit
Bow damage.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's alright. You could still roll a pretty good physical roll and be set for early on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
if anybody
something else.
like wants,
Go ahead,
I was gonna say if anybody wants to know all this information, the site that I use is poemods.com.
And it's got just all
Yeah.
your list of different tier 1, tier 2, and what's on
Extremely
each piece.
helpful site.
It is a nice site, though. I would definitely say double check, because I've seen PoE mods be
yeah.
wrong on some stuff before.
Yeah, there's some wrong
So-
information on that.
So transitioning into some of the lower level stuff, when you're starting out, when say a new league happens, you can't. Let me finish on the high level stuff. First of all, a lot of people only check for their 6 sockets. They only go down to Act 3 Merciless, which is the last place where 6 sockets can spawn. You can find 5 links down to even Act 3 Normal in vendors, which obviously early on in the league, a 5 link can make a huge difference. You could even use a low level 5 link in endgame. I know I'm actually using one as well. And one of the funny things is that for finding chromes, you can actually get chromes for cheaper in the lower vendors, because some of the lower level items are sold by the vendors for a lot less. You can get chromes for as cheap as a Scroll of Wisdom there.
It's a good trade.
Yeah. Hey,
And that's
one scroll of wisdom for a 5 link. Gee.
So at what
Yeah,
point
that's-
do you just stop checking those vendors to the early 5 links? Like when is too long? And
When you're like 2-3 weeks into a league and the 5 links aren't worth very much, then it's probably a good time to stop. But like even in the 2 week, you can sell just about any 5 link chest except an ES one for like 5 chaos.
Yep.
Even if it's low base, low item level.
Some people don't know this. Obviously, a lot of people do. But someone asked, when do vendors refresh?
Vendors refresh every time you level up. So
Or-
early on it
or-
starts happening. Or
I thought over a 24-hour period as well.
no, they
Nope.
don't.
No.
That's
refresh
just
over-
bullshit. Oh, sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's only when you level up. And so obviously when you're lower level, it's going to refresh a lot more often. And that kind of brings me into my next segment with the lower level usage of vendors. And this is helpful for anybody that's new, for anybody that's looking to do regular races, because regular races are still going to be a part of Season 8, I'm sure. It's not just going to be, Descent Champions and Descent and Endless Ledge. If you want to get good at racing, you need to know how the vendors work. And early on, pretty much every single piece of armor and weapon goes for only 1 scroll of wisdom, and it goes for 2 if it's magic. One of the reasons that a lot of racers look for movement speed right after they get off hillock is not just because you're getting your gem and you're right there, you can just check it easy. It's actually very likely to spawn at item level 2 because you eliminate a lot of other prefixes that can spawn. So at item level 3, not only do a lot more items spawn, a lot more item types, but you also start getting newer roles such as armor and armor percent and all of that. Rings costing 3 wisdoms, belts costing 2. These cheap costs means that if you want, you could like mule 4 characters and you could have like a full set of gear right off the bat just to start out. If you're a new player, this is like really helpful because I'm sure you don't want to go out there like feeling like, oh, I'm not wearing anything, I'm gonna die.
All right. So, thanks a lot for teaching us all about the ins and outs of vendors. Obviously in a 2-week race, getting all those early on coral rings, getting your ammies really early is quite helpful. I mean, muling that much might be overkill, but for some people that might be what they want to do to play it safe. I mean, it is normal after all, but some people don't play hardcore.
It's also extra flasks. I mean,
that too.
Yeah, and then you can craft your mediums pretty quickly as well.
So if anybody has any more questions about like vendor recipes in general, you can always message Uberelite on his Twitch, and also you should check out his stream sometime. This guy knows the ins and outs of the game. I mean, I wouldn't say he invented, but he definitely brought the Searing Bond hype to what it is today, which I kind of hate him for. And then he also does an elemental animator right now, which is completely unique. I'm pretty sure that's your build, right?
There's been 2 other people that I know of that have done it. IAO has a guide on his. He hasn't run it since Nemesis, and it hasn't had a post in like 2 months. And then Noogie did it on stream for a long time as well.
There you go. And I know Noogie and you are big friends. Let's give a shout out to Noogie right now for telling all of his viewers here to come by today. Let's give him a high five. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Noogie. All right. So before we go into the next segment, I just want to remind everybody that you can ask all of us questions. We have a live Q&A at the end. It's about 40 minutes long, 30 minutes long, where you guys can ask your streamers, whatever streamer you want to ask a question to, you just shoot it at them at Hedgie, at Unhost, and then ask your question, and we'll go through with that. Let's go into the next segment. So this is Unhost segment, the intricacies of RNG, which stands for Random Number Generator. Let's hear it.
Yeah, RNG. Everybody loves it. So, like I said earlier, I'm pretty well known for dying at the last minute and just having really bad luck, kind of bad luck Brian BOE style, But basically, yeah, I mean, I was always dying to just either wonky mechanics that I was secretly testing for Chris or just by my own stupidity. But in previous leagues, especially Nemesis, like really bad. I just had atrocious luck as far as RNG goes, just really bad to the point where I didn't want to play anymore. And I rarely had any currency to craft or buy any upgrades, so my build was just like on a budget status. So I'm not sure how I made it to 100 in Invasion, but somehow I did. The grind was real, and RNG played a huge part in it, and so did Aegis Aurora, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah, RNG just made it possible for me to hit 100, basically. But I wanted to ask you guys, what did you think about RNG? How has your RNG been in previous leagues and in this league?
I'm always lucky. I'm always lucky with drops, but then I'm just always broke, so I guess it kind of evens out.
I just heard
Yeah,
you
it's
just
about-
say
yeah.
shavs, shavs, shavs,
Yeah,
shavs,
buddy.
shavs, interceptions.
Give me that shavs.
Oh.
For me, in the 2 week at least, I found 2 exalts within a week, so it's been okay. I mean, I haven't been finding any crazy 1 exalt plus uniques, but I keep at it. I
Hello?
usually try to do other things to minimize my RNG, but yeah.
Some
How about
people
you,
haven't
Terrence?
found an exalt in 2 years.
I
You're
think-
like, I found 2 in 1 week. It's okay. I mean, come on.
My RNG's okay. I think it's good for the amount of time that I put in, but I'm more like clutch, like getting like a 5 link with my last like 8th fusing or like a 6 link 12 fuse. I think it's there. Like I'll go on a week or two of dry runs and then like you'll get something good. When you don't have good RNG, I feel like it just builds up until you get that lucky payout.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I
going
mean,
by,
sometimes it can be streaky for some people.
Yeah, and going by Hedgie's logic, mine has been pretty average as well. I mean, I've found 3 exalts, I've used 5 links, I found a Cloak of Defiance and a Divination Distillate.
We get it. You're good. Hate you.
Pretty lucky.
Don't worry, I exalted a chest with 4 top tier mods and got thorns on it today, so
That's what
there
you
you go.
get. There's your
Nice, nice.
RNG.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
Yeah, so yeah, RNG is really funny. I mean, when there's just a little bit of it, there's not much feeling of reward or satisfaction when there's things that are almost guaranteed to you. But when there's an intense amount of RNG and everything is just completely random, such as maps or item luck and Path of Exile, you're gonna have your lucky players and your not so lucky players, and there's really few in between. While there are people that will find gear here and there, you definitely have your really lucky players and your really unlucky players. But I'm mostly talking late game, but it also comes into play for stuff as small as like burst races. RNG plays a huge factor, as we were talking earlier about, a shadow getting a spectral throw gem, or somebody finding an acceleration shrine or a diamond shrine, whatever it may be. It can be, monumental. But I've seen people pack their bags and just leave PoE because their RNG just sucks, and it's really unfortunate because they don't stick around to maybe find that item, and sometimes they stick around for quite a while and never find that item, which really sucks. But there's plenty of times in Nemesis that I was just really bummed out, wanted to quit, but somehow I just I woke up in my chair and I was in a map again. So I put as many hours into Nemesis, I'd say, as I put into Invasion, and I'm pretty sure that it was just night and day between the 2 leagues for my RNG, at least. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up and talk about it. But I mean, I never got like a Combs or a Chevrons, but it seemed like every day I found something that would at least pay for maps for the day and then some, save up for some extra gear or whatnot. But if I were to have played alone, it might have been a different story. I kind of felt that GGG had flipped a switch when I started getting such good luck, and then I realized some of my friends weren't getting anything, and they were bummed, like they couldn't stand not getting anything and watching, good stuff drop for me, and I felt, I definitely shared the maps. I let them map with me for quite a while. But
did you
what I
tell
wanted
your
to ask
friends?
you guys,
Did you tell your friends that their tears fed your RNG even more?
Yes, exactly.
You're like, Chris is blessing me.
Keep the tears coming.
Is the streamer RNG for real? Unhost, can you confirm?
Streamer, it's confirmed. Yeah, it's been confirmed. Yeah. So, but what I want to ask you guys, trading and having a shop has helped me immensely. I used to not do it at all, or much at least. When I got something really good, I would sell it. But I made it a job to at least link my top 3 items after every map and try to get them sold. And I've always been really bad about posting buyouts. I'm terrible at posting buyouts. What do you guys think? Do you guys think having a shop, trading after maps, and posting buyouts are 3 key things to sustaining currency if your RNG is not the best?
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Especially are
Whoa now.
Whoa, everybody in
Whoa.
unison. Let's go.
Terry, go.
I'll start.
Oh, Terry,
go ahead,
just start Terry.
Okay, like for like making profit after you put currency into maps. Like, it's always nice to have something drop, like you said, to be able to sustain your maps. And like a lot of people, they're pushed away from trading because it is a bit overwhelming and scary at first. Like, I don't want to undersell myself. How much is this worth? But if you like search up prices and you have a shop, I think for the most part, if you put like a fair price posted, you'll have trades. Like, if your item is useful, then like somebody will probably want to trade it from you at one point in time, as long as it's out there.
What's up, Hedgie? Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like trading in hardcore is pretty easy because people will usually fork over the currency because they don't want to die, and they know that standing around in town stinks. So they're willing to negotiate on a better level than standard. Standard is like the cream of the crop. You either have the cash or you don't, and I just feel like it's a completely different trading environment. I know a lot of people in this game, especially with newer players, they really, really are discouraged and they hate trading. But I mean, Chris as a design, yeah, Zeno is one of the longtime players that hate it.
Ugh.
But Chris as a design, he said multiple times in interviews and podcasts that trading is supposed to make you feel like give you that sense of accomplishment when you finally acquire a trade through a barter type system. It's getting you to be social, interact. It's adding a different element to the game. And I mean, Unhost used the word job, and I wanted to get Unhost's feelings of, does he feel like it's an actual job, or is there a mixed medium where he likes it and he doesn't like it, or how do you feel about that?
I mean, I like haggling with people and getting getting the price that I like out of an item. I wouldn't say that I so much as really enjoy it, but when it comes down to the point where you have almost no currency and you're trying to make that grind to 100, or just do maps with your friends and make sure you have enough to pitch in, I think it becomes kind of a job to where almost an unenjoyable job if you really are just trying to pound out maps and get through it, where you have to get that currency to roll the maps and to get the chisels, whatever the case may be. But I wouldn't say that I really enjoy it so much. I do like bartering, but it's not something that I thoroughly enjoy. Yeah.
And host, did you know? I'm guilty of this just as much as you, but in Nemesis, I was leveling up a Viper Strike character, and you had a 2k evasion chest. It was like 1700 quality, so it's about 2k.
Mm.
It had like an 80 life roll and then like 40 cold res, and you sold it to me for 1 Exalt. 1 Exalt. I'm not kidding you. I still have that chest. So I'm just as guilty as doing it.
Yeah, I've seen that carnal armor that Unhost found. That thing was sick. I thought he was like pumping eternal exalts into that, and he's like, nope, just found it like this.
That was probably my craziest bout of RNG, and then 6 linking it in under like 2k worth of items.
Oh my god,
pretty wild set of RNG. But yeah, anybody else?
Yeah, Uber, you need a chance.
I think everything was kind of said.
Not yet. My turn. I hate trading. I hate it. I don't set buyouts. I just take a shop and just throw everything in it and hope someone messages me. I hate it. It's for me, like when I stream, because I stream this game more than when I'm playing it. I stream about 90% of the time when I'm playing it, and I just don't like dealing with trade chat. Like I just want to go, and so I can die quicker. That's why I don't like dealing with trade so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I used to be the exact same way. I mean, just put a shop up and hopefully someone messages me. But I noticed even if my prices were outrageous, if I just posted a buyout, someone would at least message me and try to haggle me down a little bit.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Like always, like price it like 10 chaos more, for something that's worth like an exalt.
Oh yeah.
So you still get your exalt regardless. So they don't try to haggle you from your stopping point.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah. But for some of the newer players, it's good to just go through POEXYZ and look up some different roles of things that you might have. That's the best way that you're going to learn the cost of items, is other buyouts people have set, and just trends and supply and demand. Like for instance, in the 1 week race, Carcass Jacks and Invasion are 2 or 3 exalts. In the week race, there's 6 or 8 exalts, just because it's a very popular and very powerful build.
I can only. How much is the Rise of the Phoenix going for right now? I can only imagine. In the 2 week, it's got to be worth so much.
It's right up there with 6 to 8, I think.
Wow.
I don't even
Wow.
think there's any for sale, so...
No, there's not.
Yeah, anyone who gets one smart enough to use it.
Yeah.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't have any use for that.
So
Yeah.
maps. A lot of people think maps just drop based on what's it called? What, rarity, or like how do maps drop?
That was the next thing I was going to bring up. Yeah. There's been a variety of answers from GGG. I have a post from Chris that says they are affected by quantity, and I have a post by I forgot. I'm trying to remember who the other person was. It was another GGG employee that said it wasn't affected. So it's kind of up in the air, but just judging off of what I've seen, it's completely random. Quantity does not affect it at all, although we don't have definitive proof. It's basically just completely random, and I really wanted to see, I was talking to Hedgie a little bit earlier about risk versus reward in mapping and rolling these crazy maps. You don't really see them raining. We have some of these mirrored maps, which I haven't seen before because I haven't played Ambush, and putting in a mirrored map has been my most producing map. You can't roll it; it has to be a white map. It's been my most producing map in the 2 week race. I got like 8 maps out of it, good maps as well. So it's, in my opinion, it's completely random, although we don't have a definitive answer. So
No, there is a definitive answer, and Uber and I could prove that to you. What always pays out,
Goatman.
Uber? Goatman.
Goatman.
Always drop them
Not
maps.
sea witches, though. Definitely not
No
sea
sea witches. Go home.
So what are some of your ideas, Unhost, of how do we resolve this RNG issue? What are some of your tips?
yeah. Well, I mean, it's not. I wish it was as easy as telling GGG, hey, if it's over 100%, let us get a map free. I wish it was that easy, and maybe they can make some kind of buff like that, and it would be really nice to have, if you have 90, 100 to 150 to 180% maps, if we really saw a difference to where we're like, yep, we have to roll high maps, we have to go through that risk versus reward, we have to build our characters up to do these high quantity maps so we can sustain a map base. It's not like that at the moment by any means, and I catch myself in Invasion, at least towards the end, levels 98 to 100, I was just rolling blue maps with magic packs. So it would be really nice if we did have that a chance to where if we rolled insanely hard maps, to where we could be rest assured that we would get at least something in return from either the boss or just in the map in total.
I really like that,
Yeah, like a
because
chest or something.
that rewards
Yeah.
the player for dumping in their chisels, dumping in their chaos. That way they get their 77, 78 map return. Now, do you think
Yeah.
it should be like a chance, like how maps drop currently, like, it could be 2 down, 2 up? I mean, we don't want no Dunes maps in Shrine. I mean, come on.
That's very true, and I really enjoy the RNG because it just makes it makes you feel that much better when you do get a courtyard to drop in a 76 or a palace to drop in a 76. It makes you feel so good about getting that drop because it's very rare. And if we had it kind of spoon fed to us, I don't know if the intensity and the reward and the feeling of satisfaction would still be there or be as intense. So I know Chris said that they had no plans at all to introduce any 75 plus maps in the near future, and he basically said because there's very few people doing those maps, and he wants them to be hard to attain. And it is nice to have a moment of satisfaction getting those high maps. But what do you guys think? Is there anything else different that GGG could do to maybe reward the high quantity maps or the whole map system in general?
I personally think they're already trying. Like, I think that's what the whole Carto box was. It's a little bit too imba. Maybe not make it roll chest level or insane amounts of quantity. I think they're trying to help out people get a bigger map base, because when you find that cartographer's box, you're like, yes, you're so hyped up. But then it's like you're in a 73 map and you're getting 78s. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally skipping tiers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask
Yeah.
Unhost, being the king of RNG, have you been making a lot of new friends? Are people trying to tag along for the ride?
They're trying. They're definitely trying. But I basically just have a small little group that I usually play with, and it might be about 10 people if somebody's online. You'll map with them, but yeah, people will try to message you and get in the group, and that, hey, I'm a magic finder. Let me magic find for you guys. I've called 3 combs this league. All right, bro.
That's how they sell themselves.
This guy's Unhost. He's going to hit level 100. I'm going to join his group. I'll make a magic finder.
Yeah, it happens pretty often, especially if you're streaming.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not going to lie. Your RNG segment was pretty awesome. I'm always blessed with
Thanks,
RNG. And without further review, do you mind if we go on to the next one, Unhost? You cool?
That was all I had. Perfect.
He's got an announcement about his character.
I've got a level 100 character on Invasion, and I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do now. But we're either going to kill him off or do Uberelite, one of the two. And what we might do, since the character that I have is a Cycloner, and I can't really kill the ad phase, my DPS isn't enough. So we've got kind of this idea of either I have 2 of the Dorianic Catalyst scepters on swap and just DD the ad phase, or I can get Pulp, one of my friends, to do the Itziri part, or at least just the ad phase, one of the two, or maybe do it. But we're gonna fight Uberelite with that level 100 character, and hopefully be either the first level 100 death or the first level 100 Invasion Uberelite kill, one of the two.
People are gonna want to see you die more than kill her.
That's probably what's gonna happen. That's probably what's gonna happen. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I think I have
awesome.
a map that you might like.
Oh man.
We'll do it.
It's corrupted and it has like blood magic, Vuln, half regen, all this other stuff.
Minus Max, GMP, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you using a PR Unhost on your Cycloner?
Say that again?
Are you using Bringer of Rain on your Cycloner?
Yeah, just typical Bringer of Rain, overpowered Aegis Aurora, and Soul Taker.
Alright. Because I've been trying to do Uber on my Cyclone Duelist, and for the heal phase, I swap on Abyssus and melee damage on full life, and it basically doubles my DPS for the heal phase.
Oh, good call.
But I don't use BOR.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a really good call because you don't take any damage during that, so that's a great call.
That gem adds a lot.
Heck
Wait,
yes.
I heard you say Aegis is overpowered. I thought it was skill.
That's what I meant to say. Yeah, I got my words mixed up. My English is ahead. Sorry.
There we go.
Whatever. All right, it's time. Hedgie and I, we wanted to take a different approach with our segment. You guys always get to hear us, so we wanted to have a little bit more fun with the podcast. So what we're going to do is like a little game. I don't know really what to call it, but our segment is either called overpowered, underpowered, or excuse me, overrated, underrated, or just fine. Good thing I screwed that up. And the way how it works is we're going to go around and ask. I'll give you an example. I'll just say something like Soul Taker, which I got my head ripped off on episode 4 about, and people are going to say it's either overrated, underrated, and the reasons why. Now, excuse me, not the reasons why. I'm going to ask the people their reasons for doing it. That way we won't take up too much time with it, and we can get as much out as we can. So let's kick it off. I'll go with my my first thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Hold on just one second. I'm going to be linking it in chat, so the people that are new to the game, I'm going to be linking the wiki of what we're actually talking about. And we'll also give you a little summary as we go along.
All right, so the first one is Unwavering Stance. Long story short, it makes you immune to all stun types from whether you block or when you get hit by a large amount of physical damage. But it makes it so you can no longer evade. Do you guys feel it's overrated or underrated? Or is it just fine? Terry, kick it off.
I think it's just fine. Like for the people that want to use this skill, I think most of them
just fine. That's it.
Sorry, just fine.
Just fine. What are you doing, Terry? Listen, come on.
Zip.
All right. So, Hedgie, how about you?
Underrated.
Wow. Uber.
I think it's just fine.
And then lastly, Unhost.
Yep.
Just fine.
Just fine. I like it.
All right. Before I'd say Nemesis, it was overrated because of where it was. Everyone was like, if you go IR, you need Unwavering. But where it's at now, it's just fine. All right. So, Hedgie, why the heck is it underrated?
Well, because I think a large part of the community, they complain about desync, and I don't think people realize how much Unwavering Stance would prevent you from this desync, quirk in the game. and it's because the stun, it's very very subtle, but there's a client side server side disagreement, and if you are really 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 super salty about dying to desync, I would strongly think of, considering of picking Unwavering Stance or getting a Chayula. I know a lot of people have a tough time, foregoing the Ami slot, but yeah, seriously consider picking up Unwavering Stance. It may greatly enhance the way you feel about the game.
Now, with that, how about with the cases of enfeeble, getting rid of, lowering their accuracy or blind? This directly, once you have that it goes out the window completely.
Right. That's more of the advanced mechanic part. With the newer players, they don't really understand these kinds of things. But with the advanced players, they can take and utilize this to their advantage. And I think it's a very newer player friendly. It's a good way to get introduced to the game. Get an Unwavering Stance build, learn the game, don't hate it, and then learn how to combat desync, as you get comfortable.
All right, Hedgie, your turn.
So mine is Pillar of the Cage God. What do you guys think? Go around the table.
Terry?
Just fine. Or maybe underrated.
Underrated? Final answer?
Yeah, underrated final answer.
All right, Hedgie, your turn.
I think it's underrated.
Uber?
Underrated.
Overrated.
Whoa! And I'm going to go underrated too. That means Unhost, you're up. Why is it overrated?
Let's hear it.
I tried messing around with it for a while, and I think it was Nemesis, and there was nothing I could do to get it to do the damage for in-game. I mean, I guess everything that I'll be talking about is just for late game. I couldn't get anything to do substantial damage in late maps. That's strictly the reason I chose overrated.
For me, it's like Iron Grip, Spectral Throw. Oh man, all that strength. Or you get freaking Heavy Strike, that 150% multiplier. Oh, it feels just good with it. And I don't think people use it enough.
I think with the right flat fizz and the right strength combos, you can definitely get. I mean, I've seen some 23k Heavy Strikes, and it's pretty good, especially with like melee splash. It's definitely viable, I think, in the end game. You just need a very particular gear set to really scale it very well.
It's a
just
budget
like
man's
Facebook.
weapon. Here's your end game weapon for 3 exalts.
And what I like about it the
Especially-
most is that it's kind of like an heirloom item. It kind of levels up with you, and you don't have to replace it. So you can link it early and not feel guilty, and it'll go with you to at least a really solid 92, 93 levels. Then you feel like pushing it even further.
All right, my next one is the Keystone. It's the medium-sized Keystone Weathered Hunter. That whole wheel there can give you a total of 9% move speed, 20 dex, and 36% accuracy. Terry, let's hear it.
And for the viewers, can you give us a general idea where it is?
It's right next to Thick Skin, Fencing, around Iron Reflexes.
Right below Ranger.
Yep, it's in the Ranger Duelist
I think it's underrated.
Hedgie?
I think it's just fine.
Uber?
I think it's just. Yeah, I think it's just fine.
Unhost?
Underrated.
Underrated. That's how I feel. You know what, Unhost? Kick it off again. Why do you think it's underrated?
For builds that need accuracy, 20% accuracy is huge, and you get the additional 3% move speed. Also awesome for every single build. Even people that use Whirling Blades, it's still nice. 20 dex. Who doesn't need dex? I mean, it's just really nice.
Yep. I feel getting 9% move speed just as 3 points you really wouldn't do, but paired with that much accuracy and dex, oh, absolutely. And, something like a dagger spectral throw build, everyone's always getting the accuracy node up by that 40% crit dagger node, 12% fizz node. They're always getting that accuracy. Well, when, they could get the one down there in Weathered Hunter if they're getting thick skin. All right, Hedgie, you're up again.
All right, mine. My next one's going to be a skill gem. It's called Glacial Cascade. It was introduced recently. How do you guys feel about that?
Terry.
I'd say underrated.
Hedgie.
Overrated.
Well, you guys just remember
Definitely.
the order.
Yeah, overrated.
Overrated.
Overrated. It's dump. Let's hear it, Terry.
Well, my perspective on Glacial Cascade, I just have a race opinion review on it. It might not have like the power or the potential late game, but Glacial Cascade is an extremely like helpful and useful race skill, and it's very friendly to new racers. It does good damage for that level range. On like a 1 hour, 2 hour race, if you don't want to flame blast and you want something that's effective and more safe, Glacial Cascade is like it's the spell you want to use.
Yeah, I think it's overrated just because I have to constantly position myself. It's really cool, like the hybrid damage and how it works, but I just hate constantly having to reposition myself. It's not wide enough.
I think it would be awesome if it was just a projectile. If you could use
Yes.
projectile supports on
Yeah,
it, then it would be in a good spot.
Yep, definitely.
definitely.
It is
GM.
really good in PvP.
Oh, yeah.
Get the next one, Zeno.
Sure, I want to discuss. Let's see, which one am I going to go with? The life recovery flask nodes in the tree. You got one in Marauder, you got two by Thick Skin, you got Alchemy, and then the three in the Witch, which can apply for everything. But more specifically, life recovery. What are you guys' opinions on that, Terry?
I think I'd say just fine.
For me, just fine. Just fine.
Uber,
Underrated.
my man. Unhost.
Overrated.
Whoa, I say
Oh.
underrated. Go ahead, Unhost. Why is it overrated?
If it was something that was on a piece of gear, I could understand. But it's on the tree, and you could, especially being by Marauder, there's so much more survivability to pick up aside from that. Now, while I would say that they can save your life in some situations, especially if you see things,
yeah.
I still think they're a little bit overrated to go out of your way and get, use points to get them.
The reason I think it's
What about
underrated.
Uber?
Uber, I want to hear if you agree with me on this. If you pair him with Blood Dance, yeah, I know Blood Dance, the hype. I love those damn boots. But if you pair it with like an 8 Frenzy Charge Blood Dance, and you get the 2 by Thick Skin and Alchemy, you're looking at massive regen per second. Like, unless a nullifier happens to smack you in the face, then you're kind of SOL. But that's a different story. What do you think, Uber?
Those flask nodes, I'm only using the witch ones right now, but they are my life regen right now. My animator only has like 46 life regen naturally. I have to live off life flasks. So those life flask nodes are great, especially Herbalism right by Anders Guile.
Herbalism. I said Alchemy. I don't know why I said Alchemy.
It used to be called Alchemist,
Ah,
I believe.
that would be why.
And it raises things like your sapping potions so much. It's like a 60% effectiveness increase. I have the math on it somewhere, but in the interest of time, not right now.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think it's okay because especially with the nerf to leech, people may be seeking to rely on flasks more, and the throughput definitely with herbalism, I can see that's 1 point well spent, especially if your damage is not up to snuff. It's a good avenue for pretty reliable healing.
All right, Edgy, you're up. What's the next one?
All right, so one of mine is Arc. I'm gonna do another skill gem because I feel like it.
Terry.
How do you
Arc.
guys feel?
I think Arc's just fine right now.
I think it's underrated.
I think it's just fine.
Just fine. Don't change it.
Just fine. That's where it needs to be. Edgy, let's hear your insanity.
Well, I've been PvPing as of late, and I'm surprised that I don't see a lot more cheese out there. Some remote mine arcing action. It is quite broken, and I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of nerf coming. But yeah, PvP builds, have fun while it lasts. That's all I got to say about that.
Zeno.
He loves
The cat
me.
attack.
All right, next one. Oh, God, every time I bring up this skill, or I do build reviews, Revenge of the Hunted. It's a evasion, life, physical damage node in the Ranger tree, and it has evasion, life hybrids on the way. But it has like 1,000,000 dex nodes near it. Overrated, underrated? Let's hear it, Terry.
I think it's overrated.
I think it's overrated too.
I think it's underrated.
Underrated.
Overrated. I hate spending 1,000,000 dex to get there, but let's hear it, Uber and Unhost.
Well, it depends on the pathing that you go to get there. If you're going through that middle highway, like through the int node to go, say, to Ondar's Guile, it's like 1 point off of your path, so it's pretty easy to get in that case. in any other case, I would actually agree with you guys. It's overrated.
I think
it's not worth stretching.
From the int, it's 2 dex nodes, and then you have to spend the 2 hybrid nodes, and then Revenge of the Hunted. So it's 5 points to get it from that int node.
Well, that's assuming you don't have the dex node that's right next to it. I'm saying, like, say if you're Scion, you go through the int node to get to Ondar's.
Ah, okay. Noted. And how about you, Unhost?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of my favorite characters I played was an evasion character, and I debated getting this, going this route and getting this, but in the end, I realized that it's probably one of the better choices to make if you're going a life-based evasion build, and I just think it's a really nice touch. All that evasion is really nice if you already have a lot.
Fair enough. Okay.
All right, my next item. It's not an item. It's actually a keystone or whatever. Not a keystone, but a minor one. It's called Mana Flows. What it does, it gives you max mana regen, and it's near the duelist. It's very, very accessible, and it's attached to 2 nodes to get to there, 2 8% nodes. Let's go around the table.
I would say underrated.
I definitely think that they're underrated.
Uber?
I think it's underrated.
It's just fine.
I'm going to go just fine. All right, the reason it seems like underrated is the big one here, and if you guys don't mind, I think it's just fine because if you understand how it works, like it's paired great with Reeve, Molten Strike, all those cheapies. That's what it's meant there for. Now, if you're going to make a mana duelist, I mean, come on, you're not... Ugh. But I think most people understand that if you use like a really cheap spell like Reeve or Molten Strike, that's what you want. I don't know, is that how you feel, Unhost?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I mean, if you're gonna be using mana, you're gonna pick it up. I mean, it's inevitable. It's such a nice node. But yeah, it's good.
It's far too often where I feel like I see too many people using or reserving all their mana on auras and just foregoing that and just putting the blood magic gem in. I don't see a lot of people running melee attack or even ranged attack on mana anymore. It's very, very seldom, and I think it makes it much more rewarding when you finally get to that damage point where your leech and your mana are sufficient enough to run 2 different auras and run stuff on mana, especially as attack.
That's the hard part. Yeah. But usually it's like the cheapies that you can do it with.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the next.
To,
go ahead, Terry.
I was just gonna say it's similar to Mana Geyser. Like it's super effective. It basically gives like 5 passives worth of stats for that 1 passive.
Yep. All right, next one I cannot stand. It's cast 1 damage taken, paired with Enduring Cry. I just don't understand it. What is your opinions on that?
I think it's just fine.
Hedgie?
I think it's overrated.
Uber?
I think it's overrated.
Super overrated.
Oh, freaking super overrated. Let's hear why it's just fine. So we can rip your head off.
For like, say your average character, and if you don't want to maintain a mortal call or keep a mortal call up, it's just another way to help reduce or mitigate physical damage reduction. Like it's just like a cheaper way to maintain, say, 3 endurance charges, just taking like 1 or 2 hits here and there. So I think it's a good setup, but it might not be like ideal for end game like mapping, just because if you can self-cast it, keep up a mortal call, like that's obviously going to perform a lot better than just 3 endurance charges. But for like the average player, I think it's an extremely helpful and a useful setup like as soon as you can use it.
For me, it only gives you 4% less physical damage taken. Chances are you already cap resist, so that doesn't do anything. And everyone forgets that it taunts. If you're in a party and you're taking damage, the last thing you want to do is taunt everything onto you. That's why I think it's overrated. And self-cast, you can net more because it's a higher level. That's how I feel. Is that how you guys are?
Exactly.
I feel like it's kind of overrated because it's not going to save you from taking a ton of damage all at once. It's not going to save you from, say, getting one-shot by something.
Where, like, Enfeeble, paired with Enfeeble, would do far more than just 1 little endurance charge.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, your turn.
And it's,
oh, go ahead.
It's like where, if you do it at the low level, you're only getting like a level 6 enduring cry, so you're lucky to get like 1 or 2 endurance charges, and if you level it up to the max, it's like so procking, it's procking pretty randomly because there's like a, cap of total damage taken. But I just feel like it's a really weak excuse to put it as a gem combination. I can see why people do it on Immortal Call. Now that's far more useful, as a reactive, so you don't take subsequent hits. But with Enduring Cry, it's just really, it's not worth the links.
Well, if you
the
do
next one,
hold up, if you do self-cast Enduring Cry, you can do Increased Duration, Molten Shell, and Immortal Call. That would knit you
Right.
longer than just the Enduring Cry with it. That's why I still...
yeah, and that is a more reactive to what situation you're in, not just like a random Enduring Cry being cast potentially when there's only one mob or 4 mobs or 10 mobs. It's just random. I think it's just a horrible setup. So my next one is Static Blows, and what this does is it increases your chance to shock, and it doesn't require you to crit. We saw this keystone or node as a like almost in every single build, in like end of closed beta. Lightning Arrow was like a flavor of the month type thing. How do you guys feel about Static Blows?
Terry?
Just fine.
Edgy?
I think it's a little underrated.
I think it's underrated.
Uber?
Let me just...
Underrated.
It's
Yeah,
underrated. It's underrated. All right, so why is it just fine? Well, I guess underrated just fine. I don't know. Let's all talk about it. Go ahead, Terry. Kick it off.
I just think it's like it might be overlooked by a lot of people if you get Static Blows and you throw in like a quality added lightning gem to your setup. Right there, that's a lot of extra chance to shock. And if you add like the factors, like of 30% increased damage taken per shock effect, and if you triple shock something right there, that's nearly doubling your output. So I think it might be overlooked in the sense of it might not be like a direct displayed DPS boost, but performance-wise, getting that triple shock 90% damage increase in taken is massive.
Yeah, paired with a lot of people get it with Arc because Arc has that 4% local crit on it, and obviously you don't want to go crit Arc. So you get Static Blows. Arc already has a high chance to crit. Added Lightning, we get that. But like something like in beta, everyone was putting it with like Freeze Pulse. Freeze Pulse, added Lightning. Oh my God, get Static Blows. I mean, honestly, it's underrated, but a lot of crit builds are just so in right now, so that's why a lot of people don't get it. There's no point to getting it with a crit build.
Right, and I like that about that node. It kind of is like really, really, really strong early on when your gear sucks, and then it kind of phases its way out when your crit becomes more reliable, or you're able to run Wrath. Just various different things that you can trigger a shock.
All right. My next one is the unique called Lear Cast Festival Mask, I think. It's one of them. It increases it gives you an aura that increases all damage around you by 15%, but lowers your damage by 30, correct? Lowers the user's damage by 30%. It's not multiplicative, it's additive. So underrated or overrated, Terry?
I'm gonna say underrated, but I can't take credit for that. That's all you, but
Yep.
underrated.
Hedgie?
I think it's underrated.
Uber?
I think it's just fine.
And Unhost?
Underrated.
Underrated. So it seems like, we all are pretty much in agreement here. I think if you're a summoner and you put this on a Animate Guardian and you make him tanky enough, because obviously this piece isn't very tanky, it gives you 15% to all your minions. That is huge. Using it yourself, I would only use this in the case of like a support wander where you're running around with conduit, lots of, like a lot of IIR, Lear Cast, things like that, because you already have yourself Culling Strike, you have a bunch of auras, your role is support. It's not played too often, but it could be okay in that spec as well. I mean, anyone will have anything to add on to that?
People are using that in PvP, the Guardian, because apparently, I guess if you kill off a Guardian in PvP, you don't lose any of the items and stuff.
You do not.
And so people are just using that just to buff you up, give you that initial burst, and it's quite powerful in that sense.
That's clever.
Yeah, paired with a Dying Breath, it's just such a good combo you can't go without because it's cheap. It's so cheap. and it's just really nice.
Yeah. So what is it, like a chaos?
Yeah.
Okay,
And-
I think we have time for one more.
Yeah, and
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Uber. What
oh,
do you say?
and I hear a lot of people using it on like Righteous Fire snapshotting and stuff because you can have your Guardian on an off slot, and when you swap to that off slot, that's when the Animate Guardian reappears.
Oh, that's really
Oh,
smart.
Yeah. That's pretty sweet.
Yep.
That's pretty
Gives you a lot of
sick.
damage.
Wow.
That was a Craigasm right there.
Yeah, yeah, that's a knowledge bomb right there from Uber. The last one is going to be Koni Raya, the Shadow of Malice, and this person is the invader that does Rain of Arrows, Shock Round, Puncture. Let's go around the table and talk about that.
Terry.
Like, do you want to talk about it or just say like underrated?
Same thing, yep. Underrated.
Underrated, overrated. Yeah.
I think he's underrated.
Hedgie.
I think he's very underrated.
Definitely
Uber?
underrated.
Unhost.
Yeah, underrated.
Underrated.
Yeah, dude, that guy. Woo! If there was any puckering going on, that's one of the main top 5. That guy scares the hell out of me. I died to him, hell, in the 2 week. Underrated.
Yeah,
Nasty.
and a lot of times you just you can get yourself in such a bad situation where like mobs will start coming in, and then he'll just put shock round under you, and then you'll try to run, and then he'll puncture you. So it's like a double-edged sword. You're like, do I run? Do I stay? What do I do with these mobs? And he's always making you like think on the fly, and he's like one of the, especially when he's paired with vulnerability or map mods, that guy is going to hurt. And I don't see a lot of people too scared about that guy.
If you're in like an all totems map and there's a diamond totem, see you later. That's goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Or you could always go Val Fireball Trap though. That one shots him. So, just saying.
That trap.
Let's go to
My
the
animate
Q&A.
weapons aren't affected by shock round, at least.
We got 40 minutes left. Do you guys want to keep doing this? I want to keep doing this. I'm having fun with this.
Yeah, it's good.
All right,
no-
we can do a few more.
We could do 30 minutes of Q&A. You guys can hold up. All right. Let's go with Lion Eyes Glare, the freaking bow that makes it so you never miss. Really fast, high physical. Underrated, overrated, Terry?
Personally, I think the bow's just fine.
The bow. All right. What do you think, Hedgie?
I think it's underrated in the fact of price, but overrated in its fact as like tooltip DPS and the drawback.
Yep.
Uber?
I feel the same way as Edgy.
Unhost.
Yeah, overrated.
Over freaking rated. Give me a Harbinger bow, and if I'm evasion, I don't want to kill myself. Terry. So is that how you guys feel too? If you're an evasion build, usually you want to do, you just feel like it's just double dipping, you're killing yourself.
Yeah, can't use it with evasion. Like I think for Lion Eyes Glare, you got to go like Resolute Technique, Static Blows, maybe IR.
Not resolute
Yeah,
technique.
even that.
You mean just
It's
you can't miss.
I
Or
just
not
don't get
Resolute
why
Technique,
it's so
sorry, just
cheap.
Static Blows.
Oh, okay. What's up, Hedgie?
Like we see these bows at like 2 to 3 exalts. I think that's quite cheap for what it does. However, like it's not something that I would want to use in the end game, but it'll get you far pretty fast as long as you're responsible with not hitting yourself.
All right, so go ahead.
Okay,
What's the next
so-
one?
I got a unique. It's Dodri's Damning. It's a power ring that does an extra, allows you to do a second curse, and it gives you mana on kill, plus 5 res, and 5 to 10 intellect. Let's go around. Terry?
I think it might be underrated.
Yeah,
Really?
I think it's severely underrated.
I think so too, underrated.
Uber.
On host?
Oh, it's underrated.
Unhost.
Yeah.
It's underrated, yeah. So would you say, Terry, underrated?
Yeah, people.
Yeah, underrated,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, all ingredients there. Good,
Yeah,
Hedgie.
because curses are so strong, and a lot of new people don't understand how strong curses can be. When you pair it with like permacurse near the witch at the top, very, very top of the skill tree. You can use this ring as a swap, and it can be your boss killer. It's so strong, and it'll make it so safe. And on top of it, it's by far one of my favorite leveling uniques, because with this ring, I can go like 25 levels without using a mana flask. Just slap on a couple uniques, do some damage, and Dodries will take care of all my mana problems. So you can sprint flask and power level very, very, very fast because of that mana gain on kill.
Oh, yeah. All right, this will be our last one. Okay, Hedgie, you can smile now. This is the last one. Okay. Zealot's Oath. It converts all life regen into energy shield regen. However, its location isn't the most convenient. It's, how do you guys feel about it? Terry?
I personally don't have a lot of experience with it, but I'm going to say it has the potential maybe to be underrated.
Hedgie?
I think it's overrated.
Uber.
I'm gonna say it's underrated.
And then Unhost.
Just fine.
It's just fine. I'm gonna go with. I'll go underrated. All right, Hedgie. Why the hell is it overrated? I need to hear this.
Just because of its location and the lack of friendly builds. I mean, we used to see a lot of people use Zealot's Oath, but then when they changed it, I feel like nobody picks it up, and there's for good reason. And if someone picked it up, I think, they might be running a poo-poo build. That's just how I personally feel. At the current state of the game, Zealot's Oath is it should be more accessible. It should be cheaper to get to. I think putting it there is I don't know. I liked it where it was before.
See, for me, getting life regeneration on the tree is, it's not worth it because you have to go through life, generally speaking. Or it's down in the duelist tree you don't want when you're CI. But Blood Dance Boots! Chances are when you're CI, you're using Blood Rage. You're always using Blood Rage. And if you notice right in your CI, you have 2 easy access frenzy charges. That's 6% life regen. If you're playing a sign, you can get Zealot's Oath fairly easily. And the 1% life regen along the way. That's 7% life regen for ES. Yeah, it's a little bit out there for a build, but it's possible. What do you guys think? Am I insane?
Yeah, there's also there's also Vitality, so you can also run
Vitality.
that.
Good call. It's not worth it alone just for
Regen
Vitality.
is definitely one of the most
What's up, Unhost?
overlooked stats.
Yeah, in standard and hardcore, there still exists a ring called Chevron's Revelation, and that paired with like Vitality and a couple nodes can be really powerful. But I still think, speaking like the most OP, you've got the Uber gloves now that you don't really need any regen.
Right.
You've got stuff like that. And Volpac's got a huge nerf, but you've got the Uber gloves and stuff that will trump Zeo.
And for those people out there, Zealot's Oath is not affected by life recovery, which is generated by flasks. Just life regeneration, which is percent life regen on your gear. That's a big misconception with that node. It's not affected by flasks. All right. Let's go on to the next segment. I hope you guys like that because it was something we wanted to try out to get everybody involved rather than just a lecture. Hedgie and I want to take the podcast in a different direction. So if you liked it, let us know. All right, so now we got the live Q&A. The way how this works is you guys have been asking us questions the entire time, and we're gonna hit up those questions right now. You could continue to keep asking questions in case we run out of time, or run out of questions with the amount of time we have left. We've got about a half hour, so please keep doing it. And then before we actually start this thing off, I just want to say that this whole Child's Play event, this nonprofit, I believe it's nonprofit org, correct? GGG has raised almost $20,000, and that is just amazing. There's a problem with this call.
Yeah, Child's Play only takes 4% of their earnings, and pays out the people that work for them only 4%.
That's amazing. Hedgie just disconnected, so just hang tight, guys. I put on the backup. So let's go to the live Q&A now. All right. The first question is at Terex, asked by Aranis, also known as Schmiz. How much do you feel unique drops affect races? If you get a good one, do you just win? Should unique drops be removed or should they be buffed?
The impact that certain uniques have in races, like nothing can compare. For example, like depending on your build, of course, only some uniques will be useful to your character. But like Wanderlust off Hillock, that is truly amazing. The move speed, the mana regen, that's just going to get you ahead just from moving quicker and being able to sustain a bit easier. But now if you're looking at a unique weapon, for example, Shiver Sting, like say you get Shiver Sting off Brutus. That happened to me in one race. Instant like 100 DPS to 30 DPS. Like that right there to me is almost like unfair for everybody else that didn't get that unique weapon because I was like 0.5% that lucky to get that weapon to drop. And my character, like I'll just be one-shotting everything the whole race. So uniques, I feel like some of them have the ability to put you in a position where you cannot be like caught up by others in your similar class. As for them being removed or buffed in races, that's going to be like a touchy subject because if you don't get a unique and you know somebody got a unique, they're like 4 levels ahead of you, you almost like get a little bit sad or like, why can't I get that unique? It can be frustrating, but RNG needs to be in the game to create those highs and those lows, I feel like. So they're there. The place, it might not be like 100% fair all the time, but I think they need to be there just to create like that feeling or to have that impact.
Yeah, I agree completely. All right, Terry, ask a question.
All right, this is from Strawberry Fills, and it says, at all, do you have any ideas to what the new 4-month league will bring?
Let's ask Unhost. He hit 100 first. Let's give him the reins on this one.
What will the new 4-month leagues bring? Man, there's no telling. I mean, it's always just completely random. Hopefully, I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm hoping that they do keep the strong boxes in, and I've heard that they're not going to keep the invaders, which is unfortunate. But hopefully they keep some of the strong boxes in at a reduced amount, maybe 25% of what it is now. But in my hopes is the hardcore league will be extremely challenging. But aside from that, the softcore league, I'm just really excited to see what comes of both of them. Really, GGG is pretty good at coming up with some unique designs. So.
With our podcast with Chris, with Chris, he mentioned that they're trying to make easier ways to 6-link without discrediting the people who have 6-linked using fusing. So it sounds like there's some sort of hidden thing they're not talking about. So I'm excited about that.
Mechanic.
Yeah. I don't know what's
I would
in
like
store.
to see, for the next 4 months, I would like to see a shift in pushing DPS as far as like living, like kind of like Enraged, like monsters get more powerful over time, so that you really can't just slack on your DPS output and worry about, initial throughput. Otherwise, you're gonna pay if you take too long. So, this league we've been playing very, very defensively. I would like to see a complete shift where you need to play offensive to stay defensive.
More like glass cannon or
what
pure evasion glass cannon builds.
Not glass cannon, but just a good balance. Of pushing yourself and not being overzealous and going to zones that you shouldn't because you don't have enough damage. Keeping you down just a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is
a good idea.
It would make people make different builds. It would completely change the skill tree, the skill builds. You'd be like, oh, you're going to need to pick up this damage to keep up with the current content.
I personally,
otherwise,
I just can't stand enrage timers. Like, I always hated enrage timers. It just takes away from the player, especially new players. We want to attract more new players to the game, and that would completely ruin that, I think.
Not like an enrage timer like WoW where it's like game over, but it progressively gets harder and harder over time to where, you're like, okay, well, clearly I don't have enough DPS to deal with this, so I'm going to bounce or go to a different zone. I don't want it to be game over, volatile on the screen, everyone dies. That would be way too disheartening. But the next question is from Wabacha. At all, you guys, what are your thoughts on the latest manifesto regarding the unique rarity rebalance? Do you guys really think that the impact will be profound to making these build-enabling uniques more accessible, or do you think they still will be largely out of reach for the majority of the community?
All right, Terry, you can kick this one off.
Let's start with Zeno.
Let's go with Terry.
Okay.
He didn't get much airtime last question.
The feeling that I get from this is that they want to make like more builds accessible for like the average player or maybe people that aren't as wealthy as other players. And like reading in the manifesto, they said like they're increasing the base, like increased chance to drop. And like the only thing I can think of is now that the base is being increased, is that going to be it's now going to be multiplied even more by rarity and quantity. So is it actually going to be dropping like more than double just because of rarity and quantity stats? So I think about like that a lot as a magic finder, but I think it's a step in a more friendlier to the average player direction. But I think veterans might be a bit upset over that change just because like they have these items, they want them to maintain that rarity.
Let the veterans be upset because the people out there who already have shavs, have already experienced it. So why should they be salty about it? You want the community to enjoy it. This means more soul takers, more shavs, and they're only increasing it by 20%. So it's nothing. It's not going to be crazy. Will it, bring down the price? Probably not. I don't think it will. If anything, maybe a couple exalts, but nothing too much.
I think it'll be game changing.
Really? I'd like to hear why.
I mean, well, going along with what you guys were saying, I think the people that have the items, I mean, of course, in like standard and hardcore, where it's permanent league, people might be a little upset about the new drop rates. But people like myself and people that grind high maps to get those items and save up money to buy these extravagant items that are build enabling, we don't want to do that. I mean, we love them to come to us quicker and cheaper. I do think they're going to be cheaper, and if the drop rate really is, I think 20% is a lot, quite a bit. I mean, we haven't even seen a soul taker drop in the 2 week. I don't think there has been one. There might have been one, but it would be nice, to see that inflation. I think would be awesome.
No, the 20% increase, we don't know the exact drop rate. That's the thing. If it's 0.001, 20% of that is 0.0012, it's like whatever.
That's true.
Yeah.
I wonder if this affects the chance too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, like, how many times have you seen things like a Voltaxic drop in a map?
Never.
I've seen it once.
Chance Orb.
Twice this
Hello.
week.
Twice?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, I had 2 drop in 1 week.
He's Unhost, man. King
Oh,
of
yeah.
RNG.
That's why he sells me those
Well,
good
was
chests.
this
one exalt.
before it had an item level restriction, or?
He said this
So
league.
this was like 3 weeks ago. Yeah, like I had 2 of them
okay.
drop in a week.
Oh, okay.
I remember in Anarchy, we had the day Voltaxa came out, we literally got into a bazaar and it dropped, and we thought it was super common. So we didn't know how to price it. We were just like, what is this thing worth? It's like, we just got it. It must be pretty easy, but, let alone he undersold it for like 5 exalts or something like that.
Oh,
and
man.
Somebody was really happy.
I thought you were going to say we vendored it and got some Alk shards.
The same thing happened. The same thing happened with Mjolnir. Like I found it the first day it came out, and I was like, man, this thing's terrible. Sold it for like 3 exalts or something. The next day someone puts a video up.
The opposite happened with Diatus. It was like super overpriced.
Oh god,
and
that's
then
terrible.
it just is worth nothing now.
And Oros was going for like 5 exalts when that thing came out. Now you see it for like 2 chaos. All right, next question. At Hedgie, level 95 in a 1 week race. Do you think that's a bit OTT XP wise? I'm not even sure what OTT means. Over the top?
I think it's very impressive that Pulp was able to do that, and I also think it's an accurate representation of what cartographers does in a league, and I think it's way too fast in my opinion. But Pulp is pushing that number to the limit, and it's nice to see. It's good data for the devs, so that they know in the future how to pace the leveling experience, because permanent leagues, 4-month leagues do get somewhat stale once someone hits 100. Thanks to Unhost. No, I'm just kidding.
I will just say, everyone's like, cartographer boxes are so rare, though. Doesn't matter when you're in a 73-plus map and you roll it perfect. It doesn't matter how rare they are. It sets you, like, you go from 73 to 78 like that.
Yeah, skipping tiers takes away that build-up feeling, that you're trying to do. It's just completely random. Here's some maps. The next question comes from Zoltan TF. He says, what are some of the lesser-known race secrets, such as the river leading to Oak, but some that our newer racers might not know? that some newer racers may not know.
They didn't race in
So I'll
secrets.
ask the three race guys here because it's not me and Zeno.
Race secrets.
Okay.
There's 2 magic packs in always corners and Chamber of Ones. If you learn the Chamber of One layout, you can really maximize your farm on knowing where to go to hit each magic pack. I actually have a video up on YouTube describing how to read chambers and how to like maximize farm. For mud flats, you can follow the water streams to each Roa nest. Just it's hard to think of them on the spot. Like Uber and Unhost, you guys can just shout them out anytime. Just trying to think of some.
I'm still a fairly new racer. I learned from you guys, so I mean, like the things such as going to Alira, and you've got the 2 posts, and then going to in the riverways, you've got the 2 posts as well. Those are really really helpful to know where to get to your next quest state.
Yep. The
Oh, you
post.
guys use the post? I
Yeah.
use the rocks.
Same
I use
thing.
the gravel. Yeah.
Same thing, yeah. I mentioned one earlier. The move speed is most likely on item level 1 and 2 boots. And
For Weaver's Chambers, if you can walk in Weaver Chambers and you can go bottom left, that's generally the way that you want to go. If it's sealed off, then like it's up for grabs. But if you can go bottom left, you always want to go bottom left.
No, I have a question for you racers. Is it the move speed recipe that's out now? Is it worth it more to keep your Quicksilver flask or get the move speed on boots? If you don't get move speed boots.
Only worth doing if you get a 3rd Quicksilver, in my opinion. And like, good luck getting
Yeah.
a 3rd Quicksilver.
Good to know.
yeah.
Other than that, it's just a waste, in my opinion.
You're
There's some
probably
pro
gonna
tips for you
find
guys.
you'll probably find a pair before you get a 3rd Quicksilver.
Hopefully. I mean, that's everything.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is asked by I Ask Skoglund. That name though.
Isaac.
Isaac. Oh. This is at all. What is the single-heartedly most OP node item skill gem? Pick one. This is
Let's start with
Exile is a
Unhost
cute-
because I have a feeling I know what he's gonna say.
Really? Hold on, let me think about that. Aegis.
Aegis?
Aegis, there you go.
Can we
For
get out of,
me,
like, Puncture and Fire.
Rise of the Phoenix. All right.
Really?
Terry, take it.
Mm,
I would say Zeri's Acuity, just because I go from like 50% life to 6,000 full energy shield like 3 times a second, and that's crazy.
Most
I'm gonna have to actually say what the current meta Rise of the Phoenix is. Definitely.
for the keeping the interest of keeping it different. Rise of the Phoenix, I completely agree with, but the whole Crown of Ice, Shabs, Painted Tumid combo. Painted Tumid is just so strong. It's like a free multiplier. It's ridiculous. Once you have, I mean,
wombo
it's
combo.
it's expensive as hell, but once you have that, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's like the wombo combos usually come in an energy shield format. Like you have the Aegis, Bringer, Soul Taker, and then you have the Shavs, Crown of Eyes.
That new quiver
And,
is gonna be the next one.
All right, the next question, as a Thoth cult says, won't Descent Champions as a signature race lead to point inflation, thus the rewards being even further out of reach? What do you guys think about that?
I don't think the reward points will change. I feel like they've been the same. I don't think they will change, to be honest. But like Descent Champions, it's just going to be like, to me, tidied up and more dense. So I don't think it will be increasing like the points required for the actual race rewards.
Isn't in Descent Champions you still get points even if you die? So if anything, it's going to be easier.
Yep, there will be some inflation involved, but that's good. You want more racers. It brings more hype to the
Yeah.
game. That's what we need.
Do you think they're going to make the rewards pushed back higher to higher tiers because of it?
No.
I think that's what the question. Okay.
They'll still stay the same, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Oasis of Pain says, at Zeno, what are your thoughts on the Witch Tree section? What would you do to change it and make it more efficient?
Somebody was watching my stream yesterday. Okay, so the changes they made to Witch so far, with the buffs to elemental damage, cast speed, life, those are awesome. We needed those. The changes they need to make is ways to make the curses more accessible, cut back on those 6% cast speed nodes in the curse area. Maybe just combine the 2 keystones. Right now, it's very hard to get up there without going through the power charge node. There's a bunch of fluff points in the witch tree. You know, no one's really going to get reduced chill duration in that cold wheel. No one's going to go out of the way for Gemini. I mean, they definitely they made a mention at the beginning of this 4-month league that they're working on the witch, Templar, and shadow trees. So I'm not going to bash it too much because I know they're working on it. I just think that the top part of the witch tree needs more life. There's only 4 life nodes in the entire witch tree. You have Purity Flesh in your Templar, and you got yourself that Strength life node in the Shadow tree. But that's about it. There needs to be more life. This is what gets me most about the Witch tree. The Shadow and the Templar, even the Scion, get more increased ES than the Witch does in their entire tree. And Witch is the blue innate class. I know they base their game around Magic the Gathering, but you think the class that is specifically blue would get more ES than all of the other classes. You have those 2 10% energy shield cooldown recovery nodes on your way to that big 18% and the other 8s. It just needs some work. It really does. How do you feel about that, Uber? I know you're probably going to comment.
There is some pathing issues that need to be addressed. For example, Ranger and Marauder are they have the main stat strength and dex. They have a 4-node path to get to the highway, and the Witch has to go through 5 instead to get to their highways.
Yep.
That and the right side of the tree does not have a 20 node, whereas the Ranger has their 20 dex as ballistic and finesse, and Marauder has Born to Fight and Warrior's
They
Blood,
do have
both giving
one.
20 strength.
They have the 28 and 20 mana node. They don't have one on the left side.
But it's way out there.
Yeah. The pathing is definitely an issue, and yeah, no one likes going across that top in area. Nobody. It's just a pain in the butt. All right, next question. We got at Hedgie. Do you still think your self-cast Immortal Call Enduring Cry is balanced? Do you think it should be more effective even without skill duration?
Yes, I do think it's balanced because it's making you pretty vulnerable to magic. I mean, you're still the killer of shock stacking and heavy hitting magic bosses, which Immortal Call isn't going to do anything against, and it does require cooldown management and a lot of links. It's not like you can just you're completely giving up an alternative skill or a totem or an extra setup of Blood Rage, whatever. So it is, I think, definitely worth it. And you have to go all over the tree to pick up endurance charges to make it that much more effective and get skill duration nodes. So I think it is a good cost and reward. Good question though. Black Music, he says, I personally think that there are too few movement type of skills. Do you think GGG needs to add more? And if so, what would you like to see added? For me, I know that Rory talked about in a previous podcast that Death Grip was coming. And instead of movement to the mob or movement from you, I would like to see that Death Grip like ASAP.
But Val Lightning Warp. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
I think
What is Death Grip?
They need a movement skill for bow users. Like, who has killed that Zero using a bow? And like, how are you going to get out of the way of those Flame Blast Storm Calls? You can Quicksilver run, maybe use your Lightning Warp, reduce duration, or increase cast speed, faster cast, but like that will not be enough even then. I really think there needs to be like some kind of movement skill or like disengage for bow users.
I'm going to say 2 things here. Unhost, 1, did you ever play Scorpion in Mortal Kombat?
Of course, yeah.
Get over here. That's Death Grip.
Oh, right. Okay, gotcha.
So you pull them to you. And then 2, I want to see a buff to Whirling Blades. I hate the skill right now because of desync and the damage effectiveness, but if they made it like wider AoE, that is arguably the best move speed skill in the game. Let's use it for some damage. Where's Z Solaris when you need him to hear that? Go ahead, Uber. What do you got to say? Or Unhost?
I mean, bow users need love all around, and movement skill is definitely a good start for them. So, I mean, Whirling Blades is definitely one that I'd love to see a buff to. Although, funny thing is, it used to actually be a racing meta back in closed beta. You saw people like DevMoon doing Whirling Blade Shadow and winning demis with it. So
Yep.
What was that move that Demon Hunter does? It's like a cartwheel backwards, a backwards cartwheel,
Vault.
or
Oh,
the
yeah.
trap
Vault.
assassin. Vault. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that
Whoa.
would be
Oh, yeah.
cool. Or disengage.
You're talking the wrong
some-
game here, brother. I mean, that's not
Well,
the
I'm
game
just
we're
thinking of
talking about.
ideas of what we can see. Something similar or something.
I know. Any opinions on move speed skills in general? No phase run. That was broken as hell.
Yeah, well, they basically replaced phase run with quicksilvers, but I like the scorpion idea. I like bringing them to you. That sounds great.
Heck yeah. Especially if you're a big slow marauder without that leather and steel node. Get over here.
Yeah,
All right.
That'd be cool.
Unless you want to get the next question.
yeah, sure. Palza Punch. What are your thoughts
Plasma.
on red, green, plasma? Oh, I'm good at this. What are your thoughts on red, green, and blue armor, evasion, and energy shield? Specifically, how energy shield is only useful at level 60 plus. Evasion is useful until 20, and then it's just really risky but doable. 65 plus. Armor is useful throughout the game. Our feelings on that? I can agree with the fact that ES. I mean, ES is useful all around. Of course, it's just effective life that's not regenable unless you have Zealot's Oath. But there's no real way to implement CI or anything like that into early game. So yeah, Energy Shield is only late game and specifically for late game, and I think it should stay that way. I totally disagree with the fact that evasion is only useful until 20.
My brother.
Evasion is overpowered, and I really like evasion. It's really nice. I wouldn't say it's overpowered, but it's very, very nice. And I don't agree that armor is useful throughout the game. Armor can be pierced very easily in the game, and a lot of my builds that I've done that include armor now, I rarely pick up IR. Instead, I just get hybrid gear because the dodge and the evasion is really
Block.
nice.
Block.
And block,
Yeah.
of course.
Can't
Yeah.
forget your homeboy shield.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll say something about this. I feel like it's, what Unhost says is really true. I think it's nice to have something to aspire to or transition your character into an end game. I think it's really good as a design with Energy Shield being that, option, rewarding you with crit, accessible Energy Shield nodes. Evasion, I feel like it's kind of a little bit weaker earlier on, but it becomes really strong mid game. It's like I feel like it really, really shines
Disagree.
in the mid to late game.
Disagree.
And armor, I feel like it can go throughout the game. You can go armor and really, really, really tanky, and I think as a design, it's okay. I know. I mean, I've seen plenty of evasion builds, do well in the late game, but still that magic struggle. And what do you guys think?
Keep in mind, you get spell dodge as evasion. That does happen.
Yeah, but it only goes up so high. I mean, if you go evasion, what are you going to do against Chaska's Reign? Or
You're going to cry yourself to sleep because that's what Chaska's meant to kill. But
or the second boss in Itsiri. Like that's clearly evasion's weakness.
Yeah.
Physical
Immortal
spell.
Call.
Yeah, you have a Mortal Call,
Immortal Call.
and you can. Right now, I'm playing that avoidance character. That's obviously very gimmicky. I think evasion early game. That's the thing I disagreed with. You can get 50% evasion really, really easily,
yeah.
really easily early game. It's so
I'm gonna-
strong. Go ahead, Uber.
I'm gonna bring up one of the signature races for one of the seasons was a turbo race, and the way that a lot of people killed Brutus is they face tanked him with full out evasion gear. So
Rolling them
mean-
dice, Vegas style.
Got you.
All right, next question.
Yeah, next question. Who wants to get it?
It's from ProHate GF at Zeno. Why should I duel someone if I don't win anything to do that? So you think you can bet some currencies that would make PvP more interesting? What do you think about that? No. Dueling right now is just testing your PvP ideas. Betting currencies is just that would just completely ruin the game in my opinion, because you would have people abusing it by and be like, I bet you won Exalt, and they would purposely lose, and RMT and all sorts of different things would be affected. But I don't agree with that at all. Anything you guys?
Yeah, I actually would like it. I would like to put something on the line to spice it up to get them to care more. I mean, there's no ears. If there was ears would be enough for me,
Oh
like
my.
a trophy. But I don't mind, putting something just to make it a little interesting. I mean, come on, it's harmless. I mean, granted, you need something in game to moderate the thing. You can't just agree upon trading. But I don't think it would
Ears.
be too bad.
Forget
I just want to
currency.
know that someone is as serious as I am. Like, I don't want to hear the excuse I wasn't really trying. I don't want to hear that. And when you put money on the line, they're gonna try.
You know what I want to do?
That's how I feel.
There's some people I would love to have their ear, and then if there was like a mail option, just open up a little letter, put their ear in it, and send it to them. Disrespect them straight out.
Okay,
man.
so this is a different question. This is more about the art. Camero85 says, all GGG announced the new 3D art for some uniques. Which uniques do you think need 3D art ASAP?
Saffles.
Wow.
Sappho's frame.
I think that'll be a good one.
Tabula
Springleaf.
freaking rasa. I'm tired of looking like a homeless man. Simple
Well,
I
robe.
thought
Everybody.
Tabula had his graphic.
Really?
It's just a white t-shirt.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
Yeah.
just like, it looks like a regular old simple robe to me. Well,
That's what it
shows
is.
how much of a rookie I
Yeah,
am.
that's what it is. The white robe.
Cloak of Flame.
Oh, yeah.
Storm cloud. That had like some electricity going on it.
Oh, I have a lot of them. There's
I know that
Springleaf.
Shaft.
Yeah, Chevrons.
Yeah, Shaft is coming out.
Yeah.
Nice.
Infernal Mano, I'd like to see.
Does Crown of Eyes have one?
Yeah.
Crown of Eyes, yeah, that was implemented not too long ago.
Yeah. I remember now. All
Pretty
right.
good.
We got one last question. It's coming to you, Unhost. With reaching 100 now, do you think it's still you want to go to another character, or is it less interesting of a goal for you?
Yeah, that's a complex question, I guess. In this league, no, I wouldn't do it again. It's not the fact that I'm bored, but I realized how many nights I had to go without sleeping and how much bartering and all that I had to do. But it's kind of my passion in the game is grinding maps, I guess. So the next league, of course, yeah, I would love to. But I'm not sure if any of you guys have actually pushed. As hard as you can go for the highest level. I know Terry, you did extremely well in one of the, I think it was maybe a 1 week race, and you were I think rank 1 most of the time. But that grind is real. That grind is really real. So, I mean, just pushing and pushing, it can get tiring, and you don't want to burn yourself out. That's for sure.
There's only so much easy mac and ramen a man can eat.
Exactly. Oh, exactly.
It can be punishment.
Yeah.
I mean, you took a break from it this season, Terry. A lot of people are giving you crap. Why aren't you #1? Because I already got it. I don't need it.
Yeah. it definitely no lifing it. Once you do it once, the need or the feel to do it again, it goes away, and you can just enjoy things a bit differently, or you just have a much more appreciation for some things.
Keep in mind, Terry has a girlfriend too. I don't know if you do, Unhost, but you got a family to look after. That's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, look at Booth. He got 2 headhunters last season.
That's
he said
crazy.
himself he was at way over his head. It was
Wow.
really
Oof is a
really
machine.
tough.
I didn't
he
even know
is a
that.
machine.
Wow.
Booth is 5 people all in one.
Does he play with
He
his
also got
feet
2
and his
all-stars.
hands? Jesus.
He got 2
He has
top
a
2
booth.
top 20s.
Oh man, someone
As well.
said face breakers. I want some brass knuckles. That'd be awesome.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Wind Ripper would be an awesome one too. I love the way Wind Ripper looks.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
All right, Zeno, you want to close this
I'm
out?
closing it. All right. I want to thank Uberelite and Unhost. Thank you guys for coming on, being a guest. Rock on. Appreciate it. And you guys are more than welcome to come back whenever. We're going to start rotating some more guests and mixing and matching soon because we're running low. But more to be said, we're going to be bringing on some people who don't always stream PoE. We're going to try and branch out to the big names that don't stream. Not everybody can. Also, I want to thank everybody again for coming in. It means a lot to us that you guys come here and continually support our podcast. Much love to this community, man. Thank you to the mods for laying down the law, sometimes a little bit too much, but thank you. And then I want to thank Grinding Gear Games and Twitch. You guys' continued support with this podcast means a lot to us and the community, so please keep doing it. We love it.
Yeah, the community is so awesome. It was announced that you guys almost reached, 20K with the Child's Play charity, 3,700 masks sold. That just shows how awesome you guys and how supportive you are.
Sure. Yeah. That's unbelievable. They almost reached their goal. If you guys out there have not bought an Angelic Mask and you have $5 extra to spare, please do it. 100% of the proceeds